The galaxy was not at peace. For years, the Varel Dominion had spread across the stars like fire. Planet by planet, system by system, they crushed anyone who stood in their way. Their warships were fast, brutal, and full of strange alien technology. No one had stopped them. Not yet. The United Terran Navy, Earth's defense force, had watched the war grow. They stayed out of it, trying to avoid becoming part of the chaos. Some believed they were afraid. Others said they were waiting for the right time. That time had come. Commander Neil Carter sat alone in a cold office at a military base on Mars. He had been a respected officer once. But after a failed mission 5 years ago, he had been pushed aside. He now worked in strategy planning, far from any ship. When the message came, he almost didn't believe it. Commander Carter, report to L2 Anchorage, the message read. Immediate reassignment. Clearance level, black. He read it 3 times. Then he stood up, packed his few things, and left without a word. Something big was happening. L2 Anchorage was a hidden shipyard floating beyond the moon. Only high-clearance officers even knew it existed. Carter arrived in silence with no welcome, no questions. Just a path forward, down metal halls that smelled of cold steel and machine oil. At the end of the corridor, a large hangar door opened slowly. Inside sat the most powerful ship he had ever seen. Long, dark, and sharp, it looked like it had been carved out of shadow. The name on the hull read, USS Blackstar. A tall officer greeted him inside the hangar. Commander Carter, I'm Admiral Sutton. You are now the commanding officer of the Blackstar. Carter blinked. Why me? Because you understand loss, the Admiral said. And because this ship is not for the cautious. The Blackstar had been built in secret. No one knew how long. It was faster, stronger, and more dangerous than any other Terran ship. Its weapons were classified, its armor untested, its systems part human, part something else. A mix of science and design that pushed the edge of what was possible. As Carter walked through the ship for the first time, he noticed how quiet it was. Lights glowed soft blue. Doors slid open with a whisper. The air felt thick, as if the ship were waiting, watching. Over the next few days, the crew arrived. Each person had been chosen carefully. First Officer Elaine Brooks was calm, quiet, but sharp. Her eyes saw every detail. Chief Engineer Leo Grant was messy and loud but brilliant. He talked to the engines like they were alive. Gunnery Specialist Nina Hall had a history full of fights and mistakes. She didn't smile much, but no one questioned her aim. There were others too. Pilots, techs, medics. Each one carried secrets. Each one had a reason to be here. They trained together, learned the ship, and slowly became something like a crew. On the 7th day, Carter called a meeting on the bridge. The crew stood around him, quiet and tense. I won't lie to you, Carter said. This ship is built for one thing, war. And not just any war. We are going to face the Varel Dominion. They have destroyed worlds. They have taken billions of lives. Now they face us. No one spoke. Carter looked at each face. We are not the biggest fleet. We are not the oldest warriors, but we have something they don't. We have the Blackstar, and we have each other. He paused. From this day forward, we go into the dark. We do not stop. We do not fall, and we do not fear. The crew nodded. No one cheered. This was not a time for smiles. It was a time to fight. Hours later, the ship's engines hummed to life. The launch doors opened. The stars waited outside. All systems green, Elaine said. Coordinates locked, Leo added. Weapons hot, Nina confirmed. Carter sat in the command chair. Take us out. The Blackstar moved without sound, slipping through the void like a shadow. Its hull shimmered as stealth. Systems activated. It left no trail, no signal, no sign. The first mission had begun. A Dominion strike fleet was heading toward Europa Prime. The Blackstar had orders to intercept. As the ship crossed into deep space, Carter looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, the enemy waited. He didn't know if they could be stopped. But he knew one thing for sure: they would never forget the Blackstar. And from that moment on, the war had changed forever. And nothing would ever be the same again. The crew stepped aboard the USS Blackstar one by one, each bringing their own past, their own pain, and their own reason for being there. The halls of the ship were silent at first, echoing with only the sound of boots and breath. But as the days passed, the silence began to fade. Laughter returned, voices filled the halls, and the heart of the ship started to beat. Commander Carter watched it all from the bridge. He knew the ship was powerful, but it was the people that would turn it into something greater. He had served on many ships before, but never one like this. Never with people like these. First to join was Elaine Brooks, the new first officer. She had a quiet strength, like a mountain just before a storm. Her record was perfect, but her eyes told a different story. She carried something inside her, something heavy. Carter didn't ask. He trusted her the moment she stepped onto the bridge. She took command of the ship's systems with a smooth calm, checking diagnostics, rewriting protocols, and setting up drills. The crew respected her immediately, even if she rarely smiled. She was the kind of officer who made others stand taller just by walking into the room. Next came Chief Engineer Leo Grant, tall, broad-shouldered, with grease on his hands even before he saw the engine room. He looked more like a construction worker than a genius, but that was his charm. Leo didn't care about uniforms or ranks. He cared about machines. "This ship's a beauty," he said on day one. "But she's half alive and half magic. And I love her." Already, his team was handpicked. Some were veterans, others were kids fresh out of Mars Tech, but under Leo, they moved like a single mind. He added tweaks to the drive coils, rerouted energy flows, even built a coffee station in the engine bay. "Morale," he called it. Then came gunnery specialist Nina Hall. She arrived late, her shuttle missing its docking window by 3 minutes. When she stepped off, she didn't apologize. She just nodded at Carter and said, "Where do I shoot?" Nina had once fought with a rebel fleet on the edge of known space. She had scars, both on her face and in her records. But no one questioned her aim. During target simulations, she shot clean through a moving drone at 12 kilometers. Twice, her team worked the weapons bay like artists. They named the plasma turrets, painted red stripes on the missile racks, and joked about writing messages on the torpedoes. But when orders came in, they went cold and sharp. Like blades, other crew members joined too. Pilots, doctors, comms officers, Marines. Each one tested, each one chosen. Some were quiet, some loud, but all were loyal. And all were curious about one thing: what exactly was the Blackstar? There were rumors, of course, that the ship had an experimental core that could bend time, that it could fire through shields, that it had AI so advanced it could feel emotions. Carter didn't answer any of those questions. He just smiled and said, "She'll show you in time." It didn't take long for the crew to bond. Not with the drills Elaine ran or the chaos Leo caused with his surprise power tests. Meals were shared, stories were told. On the third night, someone brought a guitar to the mess hall. By the seventh, people were singing along. Still, beneath the warmth, there was tension. The crew knew they weren't just flying patrols or guarding trade routes. They had been brought here for something else. Something big. That something came in the form of a silent transmission, that it came through the bridge console just past midnight. Carter was still awake, sipping dark coffee. He read the message once, then twice. Then he called for Brooks. "Target acquired," he said. "Dominion fleet, 13 ships. Headed for Europa Prime." Brooks nodded. "Finally, orders?" "Intercept and Engage, we leave in 1 hour. The message spread fast, but no one panicked. The crew moved like they'd trained for this forever. Pilots ran system checks. Engineers sealed bulkheads. Gunnery teams loaded ammunition. And in the middle of it all, Carter stood quietly, watching Dot as the ship prepared to launch. The lights dimmed. The engines roared softly. The Blackstar was waking up Dot, and in that moment, every crew member felt it. The ship was not just metal and code. It was something more. Something alive. They were not just heading into battle. They were becoming part of something that would shake the stars. And, for the first time since the war began, humanity had a ghost in the void, a shadow with a name, and it was coming for the Dominion. The stars outside the Blackstar's hull stretched into long ribbons as the ship slipped into FTL travel. Inside, the crew moved with silent focus, the calm before a storm. Every sensor was sharp, every console flickering with data. Somewhere ahead, the Dominion fleet cut its path toward Europa Prime, unaware that something was now hunting them. Commander Carter stood at the center of the bridge, arms crossed. He watched the numbers scroll across the main display, each one bringing them closer to the enemy. No one spoke unless they had to. Even Leo Grant, usually the loudest in the room, stayed quiet. This was different. This was real. ETA, to intercept. 9 minutes, Elaine Brooks said. Her voice was steady, almost cold. Stealth field holding. At full efficiency. No Dominion signals have detected us yet. Weapons status, Carter asked. Charged and ready. Nina Hall answered from her gunnery station. We can strike before they even know we're here. The Dominion fleet was made up of 13 ships, including 2 destroyers and a command carrier. They weren't expecting a fight. Intelligence said they were moving to secure a new supply lane. That made them slower, and it made them overconfident. Perfect. The Blackstar dropped out of FTL just inside a dead zone, a part of space, thick with ion storms and magnetic dust. Invisible to most scanners. Hidden from view. Carter moved closer to the command chair but didn't sit. Launch the probes. I want full visuals. Within seconds, small silent drones slipped into the void. The screens lit up with images. The Dominion fleet was stretched thin. Cargo escorts in the rear. Fighters docked, shields low. They have no idea we're here, Elaine said quietly. Good, Carter replied. Prepare the rail cannons. Focus fire. On their lead destroyer. If we take out their eyes, the rest will panic. Leo spoke up from the engineering console. Cores stable. If you want to overcharge the first shot, now's the time. Do it, Carter said. Elaine locked the bridge. Nina, fire on my mark. The ship became still. Even the hum of the engines faded to a whisper. Every crew member held their breath. Carter stared at the target, a silver-hulled destroyer cutting through space without a care in the world. He counted the seconds. Mark. The Blackstar fired. There was no sound in space, but the impact was felt across the fleet. A massive rail cannon round, wrapped in plasma and guided by gravimetric fields, slammed into the Dominion destroyer. The ship folded inward, then exploded in a silent flash of fire and light. Before the enemy could react, 2 more rounds were in the air. One hit the second destroyer near its engine core. The other tore through a communication array on the carrier. We have confirmed kills, Nina reported, her voice calm but her eyes wide. They're scrambling. Fighters are launching. Shields coming online. Too late, Carter said. He watched as chaos unfolded. The Dominion fleet scattered, unsure of where the shots had come from. The Blackstar remained hidden, slipping between sensor ranges, adjusting its angle like a predator circling its prey. Time to end this, Elaine said. Permission to deploy distortion torpedoes. Carter hesitated for only a second. The torpedoes were experimental. No one had used them in combat. Granted. Target the carrier. The launch tubes opened. A pair of dark, sleek torpedoes shot into the void. They moved slower than standard missiles, almost lazy. But as they reached the edge of the enemy formation, the torpedoes activated. Space twisted. Gravity bent. The torpedoes created small localized singularities. Not enough to tear ships apart, but enough to collapse shields, fry circuits, and confuse every piece of technology in the area. The carrier shuddered as power flickered, then died. Nina didn't wait. A full barrage of kinetic rounds followed, striking the carrier midsection. It split like a shell cracking open. Within minutes, half the Dominion fleet was either destroyed or drifting without control. Incoming transmission, Elaine said. One of the escorts is broadcasting a surrender. Accept it, Carter said, and tag the survivors. We'll let command pick up the pieces. He sat down slowly. The crew around him began to breathe again. The Blackstar had won its first battle, not with numbers, not with brute force, but with silence, speed, and a weapon the enemy never saw coming. News of the attack spread faster than the Blackstar could fly. Some said it was a ghost ship. Others claimed it wasn't real. But one thing was certain. The Dominion had taken its first real wound, and the galaxy had just met the shadow that hunted in the dark. The wreckage of the Dominion fleet drifted quietly. In the black void, shattered hulls spun slowly, sparks trailing into space like dying stars. From a distance, it looked like a graveyard. The kind that told a story. The Blackstar had disappeared just minutes after the last enemy ship went dark. No trace, no signal. Just like it came, it was gone, but the Dominion was not beaten. Not yet. In the crimson-lit war chambers aboard the Dominion dreadnought Vesker, Supreme Commander Elthak stood before a cracked holographic map. His face, a web of scales and bone, twisted in anger. His clawed hand struck the control panel. Find it, he growled. I want that ship found. Burn every shadow until it's dust. The Dominion, once arrogant, now plotted with fear. This enemy was new, unpredictable, and that made it dangerous. Back aboard the Blackstar, the crew recovered from the high of their first mission. The mess hall was filled with quiet chatter, retellings of the battle, and attempts to name their mysterious rail cannons. Chief Engineer Leo Grant was already halfway into his next project. We can amplify the torpedo guidance if we connect them directly to the ship's AI, he said, waving a glowing data slate. It'll be like giving them eyes. Elaine raised an eyebrow. And if the AI disagrees? Leo shrugged. Then it probably knows something I don't. I'm okay with that. The mood was light for a moment, but it changed quickly. Carter stood at the head of the room, a new briefing on the screen behind him. It showed a colony world, a place called Port Avira, located in the Era sector. We picked up a false distress call from this colony, Carter began. Problem is, Port Avira was evacuated a year ago. The colony is empty. There's nothing there. Elaine leaned forward. A trap, Carter nodded. The Dominion wants to draw us in. They want payback. Do we spring it? Nina asked. Carter looked at them all. Yes, but on our terms. The plan was simple in theory. Arrive early, scan everything, and then strike fast. But they all knew nothing ever went according to plan. They entered the Era sector under full stealth. No signal, no lights. Just the hum of systems and the focused breathing of a crew ready for anything. As the Blackstar neared the colony, something felt wrong. Too quiet, too clean. The buildings on the planet below stood untouched. No fires, no damage, just stillness. No life signs, Elaine confirmed. But I'm picking up heat signatures inside the main tower. Dominion ships in low orbit. 4. Visible, possibly more hidden. They're waiting for us, Carter said. Just not in the way they think. Leo adjusted the shields, rerouting power through the secondary conduits. We can charge up the distortion torpedoes again, but we'll have to cool the core fast afterward or risk overload. Carter gave the order. Do it. Launch decoys. Let them think we're falling for it. Then strike from above. The decoys worked. 3 false shuttles dropped into orbit, drawing fire from the Dominion ships. Rail cannons opened up in return, slamming 2 enemy cruisers into the surface below. But then something unexpected happened. The Blackstar shuddered. Not from impact, but from within. Core temperature rising fast. Leo shouted. We've triggered something. Elaine looked at the screen. They set a field trap gravitic mines. They're folding space around us. The ship groaned as invisible. Pressure pressed in on all sides. Lights flickered. Systems danced in and out of sync. We can't stay here, Nina called. We'll be crushed, Carter made the call. 2 weeks passed, and the Blackstar vanished. No signal. No messages, no sightings. For command, it was like the ship had turned to dust. For the crew, it was the most dangerous silence they had ever faced. Commander Carter stood in a low-ceilinged chamber deep inside a hollowed-out asteroid. The walls glowed with faint blue light, and the air buzzed with quiet static. This was not Earth space. This wasn't even charted. Navigation core reset complete, Leo said through the comlink. We're hidden, for now. Carter nodded. He turned to Elaine, who was studying a star map stitched together from stolen Dominion data. The Alvac system is here, she said, pointing to a dense cluster of stars. It's where they build their fleet. Carriers, dreadnoughts, everything. Nina leaned over the map. So we hit their factory before the next war wave comes online. We don't hit it, Carter replied. We destroy it from the inside. The crew had volunteered for this. No orders, no backup. Just them, a ghost ship, and a plan that sounded more like suicide than strategy. The Alvac system was surrounded by 3 defense rings. Hundreds of automated guns, patrols, satellite mines. But Carter had something they didn't, single quotes T. blueprints. The stolen data had included Dominion schematics. Not perfect, but enough. If they stayed quiet and moved fast, they could plant charges on the main fusion lines that powered the shipyards. One overload would turn the place into a collapsing inferno. To make the plan work, the Blackstar had to be silent. Not invisible dead. That's why they shut down the main core, floated cold among the asteroid fields, and masked their signal with mineral echoes. Leo rigged emergency thrusters to fire once every 3 hours, just enough to drift the ship closer without notice. Elaine trained infiltration teams using Dominion combat recordings. Nina packed each explosive charge by hand. Carter rehearsed the timeline again and again, drilling the plan into every second. It was the quietest week of their lives. When the time came, they moved. 3 stealth shuttles launched from the underbelly of the Blackstar. They slid past sentry drones, danced between mine patterns, and landed inside an old cargo dock. No one spoke. The corridors of the shipyard were massive, designed for alien giants, but the crew moved like shadows. Each team split off toward their targets. Carter and Elaine took the primary line, heading straight for the control core. They passed rows of half-built warships, glowing with fresh energy. Engines the size of buildings. Weapons with power enough to glass a planet. Carter felt the weight of it all. He didn't say it, but he knew. If this mission failed, Earth wouldn't survive the next wave. They reached the fusion control node. Elaine placed the charges, Timer set, she said. 6 minutes. Suddenly, lights flickered. A patrol passed too close. We've been spotted, Nina called over the comm. Gunfire erupted in the background. They're jamming signals. We're cut. Off. Carter pressed a hand to the detonator. Stick to the plan. All teams, evacuate now. The charges exploded before they reached the shuttles. Everything lit up. Power lines shattered. Fire bloomed in every direction. The entire station shook. A chain reaction began, spreading from the docks to the core. One by one, Dominion ships tore apart from the inside. The crew sprinted through collapsing corridors, dodging falling debris and walls of heat. Carter dragged a wounded tech officer across the bay. Elaine blasted open a sealed door with a pulse. Rifle. They reached the extraction point just as the Blackstar reappeared. The ship had powered up in time, cloaked in heat echoes. Leo was shouting from the engine room. Core's live, doors are open, get your butts on board. The crew jumped in. The shuttle bay sealed behind them. Then, with one final surge, the Blackstar jumped away. Behind them, the ALVAC system collapsed. Not from weapons, not from invasion, but from a whisper in the dark. A single ship, a crew of ghosts, and a mission no one believed could work. When news reached Earth, there were no parades. No medals. The mission had never officially happened. But commanders looked at the star, charts differently now. The Dominion looked over their shoulders and across the galaxy. Whispers spread like fire. The Blackstar had returned, and this time, it didn't leave survivors. The Blackstar floated in silence. It escaped the fires of the ALVAC system. It had outrun the Dominion's patrols. But it could not outrun what it had become. The crew was alive. The mission was a success, but no one celebrated. Not this time. Leo Grant stood alone in the engineering bay, staring at the cracked casing. Of the backup core, scorch marks laced the walls. A few wires still sparked. The names of his fallen engineers, Mason and Ray, were written in marker on the side of the power conduit. Leo hadn't spoken to anyone in hours. Elaine Brooke sat in the strategy room, reviewing mission footage. Over and over, she watched Carter pull the tech officer through a burning corridor. She paused the video, stared at the screen. Then she rewound and played it again. He didn't even look back, she whispered. Nina Hall, usually the first to laugh or curse, hadn't left the weapons bay. She had cleaned and reloaded every plasma cannon twice. She ran aim simulations until her hands ached. She wasn't angry. She wasn't sad. She was just still. And Commander Neil Carter sat in his quarters, door locked. He hadn't slept. The lights were off, except for the dim blue glow of mission reports scrolling across his screen. Casualty counts. Reactor damage. Psychological status updates. He read them all and said nothing. The crew didn't need to be told. They felt it. The Blackstar had changed. It was no longer just a ship. It was a weapon, a ghost, a threat whispered in Dominion war rooms. But becoming a legend came at a price. At the next briefing, Carter spoke without standing. We hurt them, he said. But we also lost part of ourselves. Silence filled the room. We went in without backup. We used weapons that have never been tested. We let our own people die to finish the job. Elaine stared at him. You would have died if you turned back. We all would have. Maybe, Carter said. But it's the way we're changing that worries me. Leo finally spoke. They're monsters, Commander. What are we supposed to do? Fight fair? No, Carter replied. But I don't want us to become monsters too. Elaine stood. Then give us a better way. Because next time they won't hold back. After the meeting, tension spread like a slow leak. In the ship, orders were followed, systems maintained, missions prepped. But the connection between the crew had dimmed. Carter walked the halls alone more often now. He passed crew members without a word. He stared at the stars for hours, wondering if they were doing the right thing or just doing what worked? That question got harder when the next mission arrived. Colony World Lara 9 had gone silent. The last transmission showed civilians, boarding transports, then static, then nothing. The Blackstar arrived 3 days later. The colony was gone. Buildings leveled, surface scorched, no survivors. Looks like the Dominion got here first, Nina said, and made sure no one followed. Carter clenched his jaw. Search the wreckage. Anything we can recover, we do. Leo found a signal buried beneath the rubble. It was faint, almost erased. Elaine helped isolate it, a child's voice. They said a dark ship was coming to save us. They said the Blackstar was real. They said static. That night, Carter stared at the empty screen in the command room. No words. Just the sound of space humming through the hull. He wasn't sure when Elaine entered, but when she spoke, it was quiet. You're not alone in this, you know. He didn't answer right away. They think we're ghosts, he said. But we bleed. We break. That's what makes us human, she replied. The next morning, Carter made a choice. He called a full crew assembly. I've made mistakes, he said. Pushed too hard, asked too much. But we're not just here to destroy the Dominion. We're here to protect what they want to erase. He looked across the faces, tired, scarred, but still standing. If you want to walk away, I won't stop you. There's a shuttle ready, no judgment. No one moved. Carter exhaled. Then let's remind them what it means to be human. From that day on, things changed. Slowly. But they changed. Leo reopened the mess hall. Nina taught a new recruit how to run diagnostics. Elaine began planning with the crew again, not just above them. The Blackstar still hunted. Still struck fast and vanished faster. But now it did so with a crew that remembered why they fought. Not just for victory, but for the people still waiting. To be saved somewhere in the dark, hoping the ghost ship was real and still watching the stars. The stars over the Helios Rift burned red dot not from suns or flares, but from war. Hundreds of Dominion ships formed a crescent-shaped wall, ready to crash into Earth space. Dreadnoughts bristled with weapons. Carriers spewed fighters like angry hornets. At the heart of it all loomed a ship larger than anything humanity had ever seen. The Dominion flagship, Varkesh, pulsed with alien energy, its armor glowing with bioluminescent runes. This was the final push. And Earth had almost nothing left to give. The Blackstar had just returned from a long-range supply mission when the call came, a desperate transmission from command. One last chance. One final stand. Commander Carter stood in front of a holomap, eyes locked on the advancing enemy. They're not stopping this time, he said. If they cross the rift, Earth is done. Elaine nodded. The defense grid around the solar system is weak. Most of our fleet's still recovering. Then we hold the line here, Carter replied. No one else is coming. It's just us. Leo leaned against the wall, arms crossed. We're good, but not invincible. That's a wall of death out there. Carter turned to face them. We don't need to win. We need to break their momentum. If we can punch a hole in their lead and scatter their command, we buy Earth time to regroup. Nina cracked her knuckles. So hit hard and make it messy. I can work with that. The plan was built in hours, not days. Not weeks. The crew knew they were walking into fire. But this time, they were ready. The Blackstar entered the Helios Rift. At full stealth, slipping through sensor nets and drifting under carrier formations. The sky was filled with Dominion chatter, thousands of signals bouncing between ships. Chaos cloaked in precision. Inside the ship, tension gripped every deck. Leo ran last-minute checks on the reactor. Elaine plotted flight paths tighter than a thread. Nina sat in the weapons bay, staring at the screen, waiting for Carter's signal. The moment came like a whisper. All systems ready. Elaine said. We're inside their formation, still undetected. Carter gave a single nod. Initiate Phase 1. The Blackstar released a spread of microsatellites, each one carrying decoy signals and false energy signatures. As they activated, it seemed like dozens of Terran ships had jumped in at once. The Dominion fleet responded instantly, scattering to intercept the ghosts. Now, Carter said, strike the Varkesh. The Blackstar rose from the cloud of debris and dove straight for the Dominion flagship. Plasma turrets turned toward it. Fighters scrambled. Too late. The Blackstar fired every rail cannon at once, punching through 3 escort ships in seconds. Distortion torpedoes followed, collapsing a portion of the Varkesh's shield field. The flagship roared to life. Dozens of weapons lit up. The sky turned into fire. Hull integrity dropping, Leo called. Shields can't hold. Carter didn't blink. Reroute power. All of it. Engines, life support, lights. Give it to the forward cannons. Elaine hesitated. That'll leave us blind. Just for a few seconds, Carter said. Long enough. The lights across the Blackstar flickered out. For a heartbeat, the ship went dark. Then it fired. The last shot pierced the Varkesh's central core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship split in two. The Dominion fleet faltered, confused, disoriented. Command signals dropped. Formations broke. Earth's smaller support fleets, hidden in the asteroid belts nearby, launched their attack. Missiles, drones, and fighters surged through the opening the Blackstar had carved. But the cost was heavy. We've lost navigation, Elaine said. Core is unstable, reactor overheating. Main engine is offline, Leo added. If we don't eject the core, we're going to explode. Carter stared at the burning battlefield. Eject it,